and welcome to this edition of PC Voyage. I'm Andrew Doty.
And I'm Rainey Laviolette.
This week's program will feature Bob Clements with PC Voyage News, Tim Hamlet with question and answers, Jim Dilks with bits and PCs, and Chip, our computer assistant.
Hi, Andy. Hi, baby. It's good to see you again this week. Let me know if I can be of service.
Hello, Chip.
We'll be using Chip later on in the show to go through our trivia questions. It's becoming more common that homes today have more than one computer. Today we'll be discussing how to connect your home computers into a file and message sharing system, otherwise known as a local area network.
Our guest today is Tristan Simons from Next Generation Computers in Springfield. Hello, Tristan.
Hello, guys.
Tristan, what is needed to perform the connection between the two PCs?
Any network requires software and cabling. A few networks require special interface boards, Ethernet or ArcNet, to connect them together. The software will drive them, and then it's just putting it together and making it work.
What kind of software is available to make this happen?
Quite a few packages, but there are a couple that are really leading the market right now. Novell and Lantastic own a large share of the market each. In the smaller end, Novell owns a large percentage of the medium to large size networks right now.
What's the average cost of connecting, let's say, two PCs together?
Two PCs can be done for $500 or less in today's market. Prices are coming down every day, so it can get less than $300 for a very quick network for just two PCs.
You mentioned Novell and Lantastic. What are the major differences between the two at the low end?
At the low end, mainly experience. Lantastic's had their feet in the door with their network for probably 3 or 4 years now. Novell just came out with their peer-to-peer network about 9 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're still working out a lot of the bugs in the package, as when you're in the field you quickly realize.
That happens a lot with new packages, I'm sure. For somebody going into it now, which one would you recommend?
If they're just going to go with a 2-station or 3-station network, Lantastic is a fantastic package. If they're planning on later upgrading to Novell in a 5, 10, or 20, or even larger network, I'd recommend the NetWare Lite to get a feel for the NetWare menus and environment.
For a small home in which perhaps the parents have their own computer and that has a hard drive, and the children have their own computer and that has a hard drive, can you cross-share? Can the parents use what's on the children's hard drive, and can the children use what's on the parents' hard drive?
Sure. Lantastic makes a package called Lantastic Z, which will connect to existing serial ports so that you can interconnect two PCs like in the home where budgets don't necessarily have $500 or $1,000 to build a network with, and get a fairly quick network for the environment.
We've been talking only about home primarily. What about for the small business owner who maybe he's a small accounting office or a small insurance office where he's got maybe 2 or 3 people in the whole office and a computer on each desk? What's available for these people? Would you recommend the same software, the Lantastic or the Novell, for those people?
If there's no potential for growth, the Lantastic is fine for them. But if there's a potential for growth, NetWare makes larger packages, NetWare 2.2, 286, or NetWare 386, 311, and they come in anywhere from 5 to 250 user versions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a more powerful, more stable environment. If one system was to go down, it doesn't bring down the whole network. In a smaller network, in a peer-to-peer situation, one PC can disturb the whole network and thus impede productivity in the office.
What's the difference functionality-wise between, say, a 5-user NetWare Lite package and a 5-user 2.2 or a 311 package?
Speed, reliability. Reliability is the big issue. You put in a 311 network with a file server, and although you're relying on one system, it's running its own operating system. It's not running on top of DOS, so it tends to be a lot more stable.
What about features?
Features, there's a lot more add-on products, electronic mail. Security is easier to use and stronger on a on a 311 or a 286.22 network.
In implementing you said there may be some cabling involved between the two PCs. In implementing this cabling, can an average person do this? Does it require a bachelor's degree in electronics, or can an average person do it for the home?
For the home,
Or business.
anyone could do it, really. You can actually buy pre-made cables, 25-foot lengths. A lot of board manufacturers for Ethernet include a 25-foot cable with the board. And it's no harder than crimping on an end on your cable TV.
What kind of software? You've got two computers now that maybe are tied together. Can you share like WordPerfect or Lotus or any of those other applications? You might use lower end of those in the home, but can those applications share?
Sure. Lotus has a network version. WordPerfect has a network version. You got to follow the copyright laws. You got to make sure that for every PC that's using an application, you've got a legal license. But WordPerfect, right out of the box, can be set up on the network, and all you have to do is buy a license to go along with it. It's one of the options in the installation process, is network installation.
What about lower end packages? Are there usually network versions of those
Yes
available
and
as
no.
well?
Depending on the size of the package, there are some network versions available for the smaller word processors, the smaller database programs, and smaller spreadsheets. Q&A by Symantec, for instance, has a network pack that'll go along with it. You buy the network pack along with the program, and you get a total of 5 users.
In implementing this network, let's say the secretary wanted to use some files off of the president's PC. What can they expect for speed? How much slower is it than on a hard drive? Is it faster or is it slower? And if so, how much?
You can expect, it's a whole range. If you're on a serial network, you're going to see a huge speed degradation. But the latest technology in 10BASE-T Ethernet will offer you almost no degradation in speed as far as a user standpoint. It's running about 10 megabits per second, and for most offices, that's fast enough that they don't notice a speed problem at all.
For someone who walks in to see you and says, I have two computers and I want to tie them together, how would you recommend hardware-wise that they go about this?
Well, I would need to know more. I'd need to know if it's just going to be a small network, just two PCs. You could get a serial transfer program like LapLink, and that'll just copy files back and forth. Or you could get into Lantastic Z for people that want to share data while they're up and running. Or you get into NetWare Lite or full-blown NetWare, depending on the need of the PCs. People really get dependent on their PCs rapidly.
Now, I understand that Next Generation just became a gold reseller with Novell. What does that mean for somebody looking to purchase networking hardware or software?
Well, we've gone through some special training, so we're better trained to serve the small to medium-sized businesses to get their networks up and running in as little time as possible with as little downtime as possible. Downtime costs money.
Well, thanks, Tristan, for coming on today's show. Next Generation Computers is located on 111 Taylor Street, Springfield, Mass.
Just picture this, Andy. Now a family has a 386 for dad, a 386 SX for mom, and a couple of 286 systems for each one of the kids. Can now bombard each other with messages.
Yeah, and the parents have the ability to check the children's homework. Uh-oh. After Chip brings you this week's trivia question, Bob Clements will be on hand with the PC Voyage News.
Here are this week's computer trivia questions. Number 1. What does the word modem stand for? And on a floppy disk, where is track number 0 located?
welcome back. You know, Andy, Chip comes up with some difficult questions. For those people who don't know, what is a modem?
Well, a modem is a device that can connect two physical computers together so that they can communicate and transfer information and files and so on.
Well, if you have two computers in the same room, you'd use the software that Tristan was just talking about.
Ah, but what happens if they're across the world?
Then you'd probably want to use a modem. So it would be used with your phone line then.
Right.
Hey, now that we know that, we got Bob Clements on hand with PC Voyage News. Hello, Bob.
Hi, guys. How are you? Hi there. I'm Bob Clements, and this is PC Voyage News. Today's stories are about IBM and their PS2s, OS2, Intel chip wars, and what I believe to be the biggest untold story of the decade. IBM, having just come out with the PS2 model 35SX 4B1 and 2 with upgraded color, has lowered the prices of their current PS2 models by 20 and 31%. They're down now to $1,300 and $1,420. Their OS2 operating system is on the way to its customers even as we speak. They offer access, the OS2 offers access to 3 operating environments, DOS, Windows, OS2. It will compete against Microsoft's new Windows 3.1 environment. Intel, finding that the door swings both ways, is currently waging patent infringement battles against several competing PC microprocessor manufacturers. However, the chip maker just paid $35 million to Hughes Aircraft to settle a 9-year-old patent infringement suit filed by it, against it by Hughes. Microsoft's long-awaited Windows upgrade is now available. Windows 3.1 is includes a stronger network support, scalable TrueType fonts, better error handling, built-in multimedia, and revamped hard disk driver. They are spending $36 million to promote this new upgrade and expect to sell over 1 million copies in 30 days. The real story that isn't news at all, for the first time since Japan devastated the U.S. consumer electronics industry in the early 70s, American companies are taking the lead. This newfound magic wand, if you will, is DSP, or digital signal processing. And it's not really new, it's just become usable by price. What digital sound processing is it translates analog signals into computer code, ones and zeros. Once changed into the ones and zeros of computer code, the engineers can do things with them that they were totally incapable of doing in their analog form. The net result of this technology is that audio and video signals can be greatly compressed. This technology will impact telephone answering machines, AT&T's new video phone, cellular phones, the whole multimedia industry, high-definition TV, automobiles, and on and on and on. Fortune says that DSP represents a turning point in electronics as dramatic and as wide-ranging in importance as the invention of the memory chip and the microprocessor itself. DSP will do for electronics in the home what the chip and the microprocessor did for it in the workplace. Companies already using this new technology include Sounds Fun Inc., a company that makes Mickey Mouse watches, AT&T with their 1337 digital answering device, AT&T again with their smartphone 2100 touch-sensitive screen, and Texas Instruments, and Interactive Network, which is a TV control unit which allows the viewer to participate in the programs from home. There are many, many additional uses for this technology, and the end seems to be not in sight. It's the fastest growing segment of the electronics universe, and is estimated that by 1995, 1.5 million multimedia PCs and another 750,000 upgrade boards will be sold in the U.S., and 85% of them will be either American-made or American-designed. And that's it for tonight.
Bob, let me ask you a question. You said that users are going to be able to participate from home. I mean, does this mean that pretty soon there'll be no contestants on the stage of a game show? Everybody will be at home on their at home on the couch touching their television? Is that what?
I don't know if it'll go that far, but there will be a possibility of someone calling the quarterback's plays at a football game prior to the quarterback calling them and having contests working in that way.
Well, thanks, Bob. Now for the moment everyone's been waiting for. Chip's on hand with the answers to the trivia questions, and then Tim Hamlet will be here with questions and answers.
Here are this week's computer trivia answers. Number 1, modem stands for modulator, demodulator. And the outside track of the floppy disk is number 0.
Well, Rainey, I think the more people that watch our show, the more people are going to know the answers to those questions.
Well, I know the longer that we do this, the more I'll know the answers. And Chip is just a barrel of information here with all these trivia questions and the great answers he's giving. Now, Tim Hamlet's here to bring you this week's questions and answers. Tim.
Thank you, Rainey and Andy. And welcome to PC Voyage's Questions and Answers. When I was in the Air Force, I had to work with communication systems that were able to withstand enemy attack. And one of the features of one system was that it operated at a very low baud rate. Now, all that meant to me at the time was that when our crew received a message, it took forever to receive the entire transmission. So I naturally assumed that the higher the baud rate, the faster the transmission. And this is true to some extent. Relating this to computer communications, when I purchased my first modem, I wanted to buy the fastest modem that I could afford. When I walked into the store, I saw some modems were labeled with baud rates and some were labeled with BPS, or bits per second. I was immediately confused as to which type was faster, a 9600 baud modem or a 9600 BPS modem. Well, it figures like this. Baud is actually the number of events or signal changes during a data transmission. If you look at the graphic here, think of this as a single cycle of a sine wave as the signal the modem transmits. Today's modems can transmit more than 1 bit of data per cycle, represented by the squares on the sine wave. So if this signal is from a 9600 BPS modem, then divide the 9600 by the number of bits in each cycle and you'll get the actual baud rate. In this case, 9600 divided by 4 bits being transmitted is transmitting at 2400 baud. So BPS is actually a better description of how fast a modem transmits data than baud rate. While I'm on the subject of modems, have you ever wondered what CRC means? I know when I first started using my modem, I wondered what it was. And CRC stands for cyclical or cyclic redundancy check. And it is a process used in data transmission to check for errors. The sending device uses a complex calculation that is based on the data being sent and sends the result to the receiving device. After the data is sent, the receiving device does the same calculation and compares the results. If they match, the data is assumed to be error-free. If they don't, the receiving device asks the sending device to retransmit the data. X-modem and Kermit protocols use CRC in their transmissions. Next thing I'm going to talk about is dot pitch. When people talk about monitors and dot matrix printers, a term you'll often hear is dot pitch. And what is dot pitch, you say? Well, simply, dot pitch is the distance between dots in a matrix. A matrix being an arrangement of rows and columns. Now, monitors come in various resolutions, CGA, EGA, and VGA, etc., but the dot pitch also plays an important role in your picture quality. If you take two different monitors with the same resolution, let's say VGA with 640 dots across the screen and 480 dots down, they both have different dot pitches. Which one will show you the better picture? The one with the smallest dot pitch, which, by the way, is measured in millimeters, because the smaller the dot pitch, the sharper the image. There's less space in between the dots on the screen to break up the image being produced. The last thing I'll discuss tonight is serial versus parallel data transmission. A lot of people are confused on just what makes a serial port and a parallel port a parallel port. This is a lot simpler than it sounds. In a serial port, there is one wire carrying the data, and the data bits must travel through the wire in a single line, one following the other. In a parallel port, there are multiple wires, and the data can be transmitted simultaneously through all of them, like a marching band moving down the street. And that's all there is to it. And that's all I have for you tonight. For questions and answers, I'm Tim Hamlet.
Well, thanks, Tim. Let me ask you one question. Is CRC used with anything else other than modems?
Yes, it is. There are compression files that compress your files existing already in your computer or on your floppy drives, and when it uncompresses them, it uses a CRC error checking to make sure that it is the same as it was when it was compressed. If not, it comes up with an error and stops the process. Networks also use CRC checking when they are doing a handshake between two computers.
That's great. Well, thanks a lot. Now, Chip will bring you the address where you can send your questions for Tim to answer, and then Jim Dilks will be on hand for Bits and PCs.
If you have any questions for Tim, or if you have any comments about the show, please write to us. Our address is PC Voyage, P.O. Box 6295, Holyoke, Massachusetts, 01041.
Welcome back. Rainey, didn't someone ask you how to copy files the other day?
Yeah, they did, and I didn't know where to send them, but I sent them to Jim Dilks, who's going to be here with Bits and PCs to show them how.
Hello, Andy and Rainey. This evening I'm going to be discussing the copy command. There are a lot of reasons you might want to use the copy command. Like, let's say that you have data on your hard drive that you've been working on your word processor and you built up these files. Now you want to move them off the hard drive and put them on a floppy disk. So what we'll do here is I will give you a demonstration on how it works to get it to copy a file over. First, I got to switch to my subdirectory. There are several ways of doing the copy command. There's the long way, where we could copy the file saying which subdirectory it's in. And we want to tell it which drive we're sending it to. And we could type out the full name of the file. And it should say one file copy. Then there's the short form, where we can shorten this down quite a bit by saying copy. If we know which file we're after and we wanted to copy, let's say, a series of files off the drive, we go asterisk, which is a wildcard. This means substitute anything for the first part of the name. We put in a period and type in the extension text. And let's say that we know what on the destination drive, we're going to transfer the same name to the destination drive. So we don't have to put that in there. We can just say A colon, and now it comes up with the name, and it will say one file copy. We could even go shorter by saying copy. If we wanted to copy everything off of this drive, we can say period, space, A colon. And now it will grab everything that's on the drive and transfer it over.
And if you had more than one file, it would copy all the files over.
Every single file on the drive. The first format that I used up here would only, where it says text, would only copy everything with the text extension on it. The second one down will copy every single thing that's on the drive, on that particular subdirectory to the A drive.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim. Can I borrow that diskette that you used?
Yes, you can.
You know, Andy, there's a lot of ways that you can take and mutilate a diskette. I hope Jim doesn't mind here, but inside of a diskette, they usually will put a liner in here. Do you have any idea what the liner is for?
Cleans the diskette.
All right. So as you're going around the diskette, even though you have a disk cleaning kit, this will keep the particles from the diskette from actually getting to the drive itself. And then you have the actual platter inside the diskette. And what kind of medium is this? This is a quiz for him.
Same thing as tapes are made of.
Which is a magnetic media. They also use it, they also don't fly very well as the jackets fly better.
On that note, I think we'll wrap it up tonight. Thank you. I'm Andrew Doty.
And I'm Rainey Laviolette. Stay tuned next week for more PC Voyage.